A group of climate change organizations have
emissions of greenhouse gases.
Climate change is now happening.
Indonesia says it's
10 million tons of.
The Philippines tops a list of countries most susceptible to hazards caused by climate change.
Ito ang dahilan ng pagkakaroon ng mga bagyong gaya ng Super Typhoon Yolanda at Bagyong Ondoy.
This is all wrong. You all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams, my childhood with your empty words. And yet, I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
Climate change. Climate change refers to the long-term changes in the Earth's climate patterns, such as changes in temperature, precipitation, and sea level, primarily caused by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, deforestation, and industrial processes that release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases trap heat from the sun and cause the Earth's temperature to rise, leading to a wide range of negative impacts, including more frequent and severe weather events, biodiversity loss, and public health risks that are primarily caused by human actions, especially in the field of economics. Speaking of economics, in economics, there are many linear human activities and patterns where they produce and consume resources they accumulate from our environment and transform it into utilization as well as for consumption purposes. With that said, there are two primary patterns that are rampant in our economy that also contributes to the worsening of our climate change. Now is the production patterns. Production patterns refers to how people generate, accumulate, and allocate human essentialities and to be consumed in our economy. Production patterns are designed to effectively convert natural resources into products and services that will satisfy consumer demands. The current production patterns rely heavily on the extraction of the natural resources, including fossil fuels, minerals, woods, and energy-intensive manufacturing processes, leading to significant increase in greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to climate change and other environmental problems such as air pollution and soil degradation. Furthermore, one of the examples of a production pattern is the take, make, waste production model that is under the umbrella of the linear economy concept. Now, you might be wondering, what is the linear economic model and how does it affect our environment? A linear economic model is a traditional economic model that follows the take, make, waste approach to resource consumption and production in a linear economy. Resources are extracted from Earth, turned into products, used, and then discarded as a waste. This economic model assumes that resources are infinite and that waste can be disposed of without causing adverse effects. This approach, however, has resulted in the depletion of natural resources pollution, and environmental degradation, ultimately leading to climate change. Moreover, these are some of the kinds of production patterns. First one is mass production, a production pattern in which large quantities of identical goods are produced. The second one is job production. Job production is a manufacturing method in which only one product is produced at a time. Each order is distinctive and satisfies the customer's specific needs. It is also known as jobbing one or off production. Lastly, the third one is flow production. Flow production is characterized by the constant flow of goods through the production process. And now that we're done with the production patterns, let's now move on to the second pattern, which is the consumption pattern. Consumption patterns are considered as the key driver for the use of resources. This is because it describes how people spend their funds to buy goods and services. Also about how people use and consume goods and services is influenced by a person's habit, preferences, and behaviors. Income, culture, age, gender, education, preferences, and trends are just a few of the variables that have an impact on consumption patterns. The purpose of consumer patterns in relation to the environment is to identify ways to reduce our environmental impact, promote sustainable consumption patterns, and create a more sustainable future for our planet. Now, to sum up all the things that have been stated so far, both the production and consumption patterns have its benefits and adversities. However, while it does have an advantageous effects on people, empirically, it does more harmful things or effects as it causes such adverse fatalities of our environment. Production and consumption patterns can be harmful to the environment in several ways, such as: first, resource depletion. Resource depletion is the production and consumption patterns that requires the use of natural resources such as land, water, minerals, and energy. Excessive consumption can result in the depletion of natural resources, which can have negative impacts on the ecosystem and biodiversity. Secondly, pollution. The production and consumption of goods and services can lead to pollution of air, water, and soil. This pollution can harm human health, the environment, and contribute to the climate change. The third one is waste generation. Production and consumption patterns can generate significant amount of waste, including hazardous waste, which can contaminate the environment and harm human health. Fourthly, greenhouse gas emissions. The production and consumption of goods and services can also result in significant greenhouse gas emissions, which can contribute to the climate change. And last but not the least, unsustainable practices. Unsustainable production and consumption practices, such as overfishing, deforestation, and the use of pesticides and fertilizers, can have negative impacts on ecosystem and biodiversity. Now, we can see how much damage, adversities, and harmful effects that production and consumption patterns institute with our environment. To lessen its impacts, we must practice a certain concept which is called the circular economy model. In a circular economy, resources are used efficiently, waste is minimized, and the products are designed to be reused, repaired, or recycled at the end of their life cycle. This contrasts with the traditional linear economy, which is based on a take, make, dispose model where resources are extracted, turned into products, and eventually discarded as waste. By implementing techniques like resource sharing, recycling, and remanufacturing, the circular economy seeks to establish a closed-loop system where resources are used for as long as possible and waste is reduced. By slowing down the use of resources, fostering job growth, and lowering pollution, in greenhouse gas emission, the circular economy also seeks to benefit the economy, society, and environment. For further elaboration, these are the differences between the linear economy and circular economy. In a linear economy, resources are extracted from the earth, turned into products, used, and then discarded as a waste. This model of economy assumes that resources are infinite and waste can be disposed of without any negative consequences. This means that linear economy is more harmful than the circular economy, as linear economy promotes many environmental adversities that could potentially affect us humans as well as other living beings. Subsequently, this approach has led to a depletion of natural resources, pollution, and environmental degradation, ultimately resulting in climate change. In contrast, a circular economy aims to keep resources in use for as long as possible through reuse, repair, and recycle. The circular economy model promotes sustainable and responsible resource consumption and production, helping to create a more sustainable future. This means that circular economy is much more better than linear economy, as circular economy promotes good, beneficial, and advantageous effects to us human beings, as well as in our environment in general.
Spatial planning. Spatial planning is the process of organizing and managing land use and development in a particular geographic area. It involves analyzing various factors such as population growth, environmental conditions, economic development, and transportation needs to create a plan that meets the needs of a community. The goal of spatial planning is to ensure that land is used efficiently and sustainably, and that different land uses are compatible with each other. This includes determining the location of residential, commercial, industrial, and recreational areas, as well as protecting natural resources and cultural heritage. Spatial planning involves a variety of stakeholders, including government agencies, private businesses, community groups, and individual citizens. It often involves the development of zoning regulations, land use policies, and other planning tools that guide development in a particular area. Overall, spatial planning aims to create a more livable, equitable, and sustainable environment by balancing competing demands for land use and development. It is an important tool for managing urbanization and promoting sustainable development. Spatial planning can take many forms depending on the specific needs and goals of a community. Here are some examples of spatial planning. Number 1 is regional planning. This involves developing a plan for a larger geographic area, such as a region or a state. It can include identifying transportation corridors, protecting natural resources, and guiding development in specific areas. Number 2 is urban planning. This involves developing a plan for a specific city or town. It can include identifying areas for residential, commercial, and industrial development, as well as transportation planning and preserving historic and cultural landmarks. Number 3 is land use planning. Land use planning, this involves regulating the use of land for specific purposes such as residential, commercial, or industrial use. It can include zoning regulations and other planning tools to guide development in a particular area. Number 4 is environmental planning. This involves identifying and protecting natural resources such as forests, wetlands, and wildlife habitats. It can include developing strategies to reduce pollution and protect biodiversity. And lastly, transportation planning. This involves planning for transportation, infrastructure such as roads, public transit and bike lanes. It can include identifying transportation corridors, designing safe and efficient transportation system, and sustainable transportation options. So now that we're done with our last topic, which is spatial planning, let us now proceed with our next topic, consumerist attitude. Consumerist attitude is a way of thinking or acting that places a strong emphasis on consuming goods and services in order to achieve happiness, status, or satisfaction. Consumerism frequently involves the idea that owning particular brands or categories of goods is a sign of success or social standing, and that buying more and newer products will improve one's quality of life. Advertising and marketing that promotes materialistic values and encourages people to buy more and consume more can be the driving force behind a consumerist attitude. This may result in excessive consumption and a preference for material possessions over other facets of life like intimate connections, memorable experiences, and personal development. While consumerism can have some benefits, such as driving economic growth and providing access to necessary goods and services, it can also have negative consequences, such as contributing to environmental degradation, social inequality, and personal debt. Consumerist attitudes can have a significant impact on the environment. Here are some of the effects of consumerism on the environment. Number 1 is resource depletion. Demand for goods and services is fueled by consumerism, which increases resource consumption. Natural resources like water, forests, and minerals may be depleted as a result. Number 2, pollution. Consumerism produces a lot of waste, including single-use items, electronics, and plastic packaging. This waste has the potential to damage wildlife and pollute the environment by ending up in landfills, oceans, and other natural habitats. Number 3, climate change. The production and transportation of goods, as well as the consumption of energy and natural resources, all contribute to consumerism's impact on climate change. Energy is needed for the raw material extraction and processing, product production, and delivery to retail locations, all of which increase greenhouse gases and gas emissions. Number 4, biodiversity loss. Consumerism drives the demand for products made from natural resources like wood and minerals, as natural areas are turned into mines, plantations, and other industrial activities. This may lead to the destruction of habitats and a loss of biodiversity.
Thank you, Eliza, for discussing the topics spatial planning and consumerist attitude. And now, we are going to tackle a new topic called carbon footprints. The term carbon footprint describes all greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide, that humans release into the atmosphere as a result of their daily activities, including the burning of fossil fuels, traveling, and manufacturing. Carbon footprint is a gauge of how the effects of human activity, specifically climate change, are felt by the environment. Also, carbon footprint is a person's organization or products that is calculated by estimating the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere as a result of their activities. Direct emissions from the use of fossil fuels such as driving a car or heating a stove are included as an indirect emissions from the production and transportation of goods and services. Carbon footprints are frequently expressed in metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, or CO2e, which also accounts for the effects of other greenhouse gases like nitrous oxide and methane. Several strategies can be used to reduce carbon footprint, including implementing energy-efficient habits, increasing the use of renewable energy-cutting ways, and promoting environmentally friendly transportation options. The effects of carbon footprint of the environment are significant and wide-ranging. Here are some of the main impacts of carbon footprint on the environment. Number 1. Climate change. The accumulation of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which trap heat and cause global warming, is facilitated by carbon footprints. Climate change results from this, and its effects include changing precipitation patterns, escalating sea levels, and more frequent and severe weather events. Number 2 is air pollution. Air pollution is when fossil fuels are burned to produce energy for things like heating and transportation. They release pollutants into the atmosphere that are both bad for the environment and human health. Particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide are some of these pollutants. Number 3 is ocean acidification. Ocean acidification is caused by carbon dioxide being absorbed into the oceans, which is bad for the ecosystem and marine life. This is due to the acidity's potential to dissolve marine or organism shells and skeletons, which would negatively affect their capacity for survival and reproduction. Number 4 is habitat destruction. Habitat destruction is the extraction and use of fossil fuels such as soil and gas that can lead to the destruction of habitats and the extinction of various animals and plants. This is due to the fact that operations like mining and drilling have the potential to destroy and damage natural habitats like wetlands and forests. And lastly, number 5 is water scarcity. Water scarcity is the changes in water's availability and quality that are possible as a result of climate change, which is exacerbated by carbon footprint. This could have an effect on population of people who depend on water for their survival, such as those in agricultural wildlife and human populations. So now that we're done discussing the topic carbon footprint, let's now move on to another topic called Top 10 Global Causes of Climate Change. Number 1 is power plants. Power plants are facilities that generate electricity by converting various sources of energy into electrical power. The sources of energy can include coal, natural gas, nuclear fuel, hydropower, wind, and solar. The burning of fossil fuels and power plants release large amounts of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, contributing to global warming and climate change. The extraction and transportation of fossil fuels can also have a significant environmental impacts such as oil spill, deforestation, and health adversities to humankind such as respiratory and cardiac illnesses. Number 2 is transportation. The term transportation describes the movement of people, goods, and services between 2 points using a variety of vehicles including cars, trucks, buses, trains, ships, and airplanes. Although it is essential to our daily lives, transportation also have a big impact on the environment, especially in regard to climate change. The primary source of emissions from transportation is a combustion of fossil fuels such as gasoline and diesel, which emit carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat, resulting in global warming, climate change, and extreme weather events. Furthermore, transportation can contribute to air pollution, which can harm both humans and ecosystem. Number 3 is farming. Farming is the cultivation of crops and the raising of livestock for food, fiber, and other products. It entails a variety of activities such as plowing, harvesting, and animal management. Farming can have both positive and negative impacts on the environment. Whilst it provides foods and other products that are essential for human life, its negative effects are the use of chemical fertilizers that can harm wildlife and contaminate waterways, Hence, it creates problems such as air and water pollution, soil degradation, and loss of biodiversity.
Number 4 is deforestation. Is the removal, eradication, or destroying of forests or woodlands, usually for industrial, commercial, or urban development purposes. Cutting down and burning trees is a common method of deforestation which adds to global warming by releasing larger amount of carbon dioxide into atmosphere. Deforestation also has significant impact on the environment, including number 1, loss of biodiversity. Because of deforestation, species and habitats that depends on forests for survival are lost. Number 2, soil erosion. Trees help to anchor soil and clays, so deforestation can lead to soil erosion and nutrients loss. Number 3, climate change. Because trees absorb and store carbon dioxide, deforestation contributes to climate change by releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
Number 5, oil drilling is the process of extracting oil from underground reservoirs using drilling rigs, pipes, and pumps. The oil is then transported to refineries for processing into various products such as gasoline, diesel, and plastics.
Number 6 is industrial waste. Industrial waste refers to the waste generated by industrial activities such as manufacturing, mining, and construction. This waste can include chemicals, metals, plastics, and other materials that are hazardous to human health and the environment. Industrial waste affect the environment in several ways. The improper disposal of industrial waste can contaminate soil, water, and air, leading to environmental pollution and health problems. When industrial waste is dumped into rivers, lakes, or oceans, it can harm aquatic life and disrupt the ecosystem. Number 7 is overpopulation. Overpopulation is a condition where the number of people living in a particular area exceeds the carrying capacity of the environment. This means that the available resources such as food, water, and shelter become insufficient to meet the needs of the population. It can result from factors such as increased birth rates, decreased mortality rates, and migration. The primary effects of overpopulation to our environment includes number 1, resource depletion. The pressure of overpopulation places a strain on the minerals, fresh water, and fertile soil that are necessary for human survival. As a result, there is a shortage of resources and disputes over who has access to them because they used up more than they can replenish. Number 8 is urbanization. As cities and urban areas expand, more energy, transportation, and infrastructure are needed, which increases greenhouse gas emissions. Also, it is the process by which a society becomes more urban, meaning that a large percentage of people live in urban areas. Economic growth and job opportunities in cities, as well as social and cultural factors, are frequently the driving forces behind urbanization. Number 9 is natural gas production. Natural gas production has the potential to harm the environment. Natural gas, main component methane, is a powerful greenhouse gas that when released into the atmosphere, accelerates climate change. Methane emissions from natural gas production and transportation caused by leaks, venting, and flaring. And lastly, number 10 is natural occurrences. Events or phenomena that happen naturally without human intervention or influence are referred to as natural occurrences. Among them are climatic variations, includes volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and other natural catastrophes. Natural occurrences can have an impact on the environment and human societies even though they are common and expected part of the Earth's natural system. For instance, severe weather events like hurricanes, floods, and wildfires can kill people and destroy facilities such as homes, businesses, and other infrastructures.
Now that we're done with the topic of top 10 causes of climate change, let's now proceed to the next lesson, air pollution. First and foremost, what is air pollution and what caused it to become rampant in our environment? Air pollution is the presence of harmful substances, including gases, particles, and biological molecules in the Earth's atmosphere. These substances can have negative impacts on human health, the environment, and the climate. Air pollution can come from a variety of sources. It can come from human activities as well as from natural occurrences. Number 1. Transportation. Cars, trucks, buses, and other vehicles emit a range of harmful substances into the air, including carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, particulate matter, and volatile organic compounds. These emissions are a significant source of air pollution in urban areas. Number 2. Industrial processes. Manufacturing, energy production, and other industrial activities emit a range of pollutants, including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter. Industrial emissions can be a significant source of air pollution in areas near factories and other industrial facilities. Number 3. Energy production. Burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas to generate electricity and heat homes and businesses can emit pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulate matter into the air. Number 4. Agriculture. Agricultural activities such as livestock production and crop burning can release pollutants such as ammonia and methane into the air. Number 5. Household activities. Burning wood or coal for heating, cooking, or lighting can release pollutants such as particulate matter and carbon monoxide into the air. While both human and natural sources of air pollution contribute to the problem, the scale and impact of human-caused pollution is much greater. Human activities have significantly increased the amount of air pollution in the atmosphere, leading to significant negative impacts on human health and the environment.
With that said, we, as human beings, it is our responsibility to take care of our planet because this is our home, this is our habitat, and this is where we live in. Because if we do not care about our world or our planet, then we will suffer from consequences of our own actions. So, that said, always be responsible and take care of our Mother Earth. Thank you, and I hope you learned something from our report today.